High upon a lonely moor a widow lived alone. An inn she kept, and as she slept the pillow heard her moan. Oh, many is the traveler who spent the night with me, but there's not a man in all creation gives content to me. While some men manage once or twice, some make 3 or 4. It seems to me a rarity is the man who can do more. I'd give anything to find him in heaven or in hell. And as these words were spoken, then she heard the front door bell, and the wind blew cold and lonely across that widow's moor. She never ever turned away a traveler from her door. That's the chorus. So boldly then the widow ran, and the door she opened wide. And as she did, a tall and handsome stranger stepped inside. She gave him bread and brandy, and when that he was fed, he said, "Me dear, now have no fear, it's time to come to bed. For I've heard your call from down below, and I've come to set you right. But you must come to hell with me if I can last the night." She said, "You randy devil, to this bargain I'll agree. For hell on earth or hell in hell, it's all the same to me." And the wind blew cold and lonely across that widow's moor. She never ever turned away a traveler from her door. Well, then they both fell into bed, and the devil was working well. He thought before the night was through she'd be in his hell. But when they came to number 9, the widow shouted more. And when the 12th time came around, the widow cried encore. At 32 the devil felt compelled to take a rest. The widow, she said, "Come raise your head and put me to the test." At 69 the widow laughed. Again she cried. The devil, he gasped, "Well, I can see just how your husband died." And the wind blew cold and lonely across that widow's moor. She never ever turned away a traveler from her door. At 99 the devil, he began to cry and weep. He said, "I'll give you anything if you'll only let me sleep." Before the morning light was up, the devil hobbled home, and the widow, still not satisfied, once more was left alone. Alone again the widow lay and thought on 99. Well, if only that old devil could have managed one more time. I'll call him up again tonight and see what can be done. With a little more application he could have made the ton. And the wind blew cold and lonely across that widow's moor. She never ever turned away a traveler from her door. But when she called to him that night, no devil did appear. For the first time in eternity, the devil, he shook with fear. Of all the fires and torments that I've witnessed here in hell, I never knew what pain was till I rang your front door bell. And the wind blew cold and lonely across that widow's moor. She never ever turned away a traveler from her door. Well, our story has an epilogue, so don't you go just yet. And it has a happy ending too, so listeners, don't you fret. For our widow found another who could see her through the night. The dairy maid from down the road, she set our widow right. And the wind blew cold and lonely across that widow's moor. She never ever turned away a traveler from her door. And the wind blew cold and lonely across that widow's moor. She never ever turned away a traveler from her door. The last verse may have been written by me, yes.